Hey everyone, and welcome to my YouTube live. Today, I have a very special guest, Joy Vernon. This is another tarot professional that I have. That I don't know. We've been kind of in each other's orbits for a really long time, and her and I have definitely run the gamut of in-person readings, teachings, gig work. So I definitely thought of her as we talked about what we wanted to kind of share with you guys, because we are now in the holiday season. And that can be really stressful for tarot readers, especially if you do events-based work or you want to. It can be stressful, it can be lucrative. So I thought I'd have Joy on today and we can talk all about it. Joy, welcome. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Yeah, awesome. I'm so excited to be here, Jenna. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Oh, absolutely. So we've got a number of people who are here in the live. If you're here in the live, feel free to use the comments, ask questions, whatever. We are here for you. So Joy, tell us a little bit about your background with tarot, who you are, and how people can find you.
Okay, awesome. I did my very first gig in October in 1991. And so I'm like, yes, we're going back to that. Yay. And so I'm Joy Vernon. I'm an astrologer and a tarot reader in Burien, Washington. You can find me at joyvernon.com. And I love tarot and astrology. And I often go off into the esoteric weeds when I'm doing those things. But I also really like to talk business and business strategy.
Yay, yay. So tell me about this. That's funny because I think my first event was also a Halloween event, and it was like, I think it was 1990 or 91 or 92, something like that. Hey guys, hey for you people that are coming in to the live, welcome. Mine was the community of drag queens. That's my origin story. Who was like, do you want to come read at our Victor Victorian party? And I was like 14 and I was like, yes. And that was the start of it. What was your first event like?
It's so weird because I've been trying to remember as Halloween themed because I'm like, I don't remember anybody in costume, but it was a political thing. I think somebody was maybe announcing their candidacy for something, and they were having this political thing at a metaphysical store. I lived in Colorado at the time, and I didn't care what it was. I'm like, whatever, somebody is doing something, they need tarot readers.
Oh my
And so
God.
I don't even think my teacher knew. I think honestly my teacher are we good? I feel like we're freezing. Okay, my
Oh,
teacher had just contacted me and they're looking for readers. And so I went.
and so, and then away you went. That seems to be, Joy, it seems like either you're lagging, I'm lagging. How's your Wi-Fi on your end? Is that okay? Uh-oh, I think Joy has frozen. Those of you that are live, is it Joy frozen? Is it me? Let me know. I think she's frozen. I'm going to remove her and hopefully she can get that sorted and come back. I will wait for her technology to work. Until then, oh, are you back? Yeah, you're fine. Okay, yeah. So it's Joy. Joy's a little frozen. So we'll give her a minute. Maybe like the powers that be and the satellites and the planets that be can get this up to go. But I will mention until I bring Joy back and we talk about her first story. I did write a book several years ago called Have Tarot Will Party, which is a lot of the mechanics of doing gig-based readings for parties. And that's a distinct thing from festival work. And I'm going to get into that a little bit. So hopefully we will have Joy come back in. But I did want to mention kind of at this time of year, this is often where new readers get their break working for the public. And at this time of year, if you have a website that's findable, you're going to have tons of people probably reaching out and asking you to come and read at their Halloween-based event. And not all Halloween-based events are, oh good, I'm glad you liked it. It's a good book. Not all events are the same. Some are worth it and some are not worth it. And it really depends on what you're trying to get out of it, what your own level of skill is, and how much money you want to make at the end of the holiday season. I think I've got Joy back. Oh, there we are. Hello.
Hello.
So I was just talking a little bit about how, not all Halloween or like holidays events, are the same. They can be really, really different. And whether they're worth it to you or not really depends on your goals as a reader and maybe also your business goals. And so I want to kind of finish that thought because there was a place recently that emailed me out of nowhere, and they were like, "Oh, we love your website. Great. We would love to have you come to our event." And then I email back and go, "Yeah, great. So what's your budget?" And they're like, "Oh, no, we're not going to pay you. We're not going to pay you. And you can't ask for tips even. But if you have like merch maybe, and exposure, there's going to be so many people there, and we get a lot of that. Or you can get people who are even your friends. Like I've had this happen. Oh, Jenna, we'd love to have you come to our party." And you're like, "Fabulous. Oh my God, friend. Thank you. Oh, could you do some readings there?" So like the first part of this is really ascertaining what's going on when we're talking about reading for exposure and whether it's going to be worth it to you or not. And then there's another level of ask, which is, I'm having an event. You can come. I'm not going to pay you, but if you get people that come to the table, they can pay you. So that's really hiring you as free entertainment, but they're offloading all of the risk of that event onto you. It doesn't mean anything to them whether people come or not. So that's another thing. And then one that happened recently is I had someone reach out to me and go, "Yeah, I love your website, whatever. We would love to invite you to come do vending for us if you pay us $50, blah, 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 blah." So there's all these different little permutations that could be in right alignment with where you are or not. I would say never, ever, ever read for exposure. Don't do it. Because they're not respecting you or your craft or your time. And how do we really work in our best, really feeling that we're okay and we're being respected and safe if we're being shown that our time and our expertise doesn't have any value. And usually if a place has to actually solicit you to get you to vend at their event, that's not a good sign. That is not a good sign. That means that event is probably not well marketed, that they're actually having to get people to come and pay them for a table. Though there are some instances where, especially if you're very new to reading and you're trying to get your chops down, where you would want to pay for a table. But if you've already got like a good, consistent client base and you know your stuff, you're really now in the category of entertainment. And entertainment needs to be paid. So those are just some of the kind of initial thoughts I have, because a lot of us will get these emails from these randos going, "Oh yeah, well, we're going to provide you with a table and 2 chairs. Like, isn't that great? Don't you want to come and work for 8 hours on Halloween night?" So we have to really, first off, understand our value and our worth, and not compromise that. So that's kind of my little soapbox. What do you think, Joy?
Well, I pretty much agree with everything you just said. I will stress that I did, like, that first event I did in 1991, I did do for free, and I think it was the only event I ever did for free. And when I have students, a lot of times they feel a lot more comfortable doing something where they're not having to have the added pressure of living up to a certain, like, dollar sign value to what they're doing. And so that there is a time, like you said, building your chops. There is a time when doing some free events does make sense. One really good workaround is a fundraiser where it's actually a nonprofit, and people are paying the nonprofit to come into this event, and you're reading in order to help the nonprofit make money, get them their funding. And I had an event like that where it was a big room of readers, and in this case it went very differently because I can't remember if we paid for a table or not. We might have, because again, it was a fundraiser for a church, for a nonprofit to get their roof fixed. And
wait a minute. Whoa. I'm gonna stop you. So it was a fundraiser for a church, and they had all your readers coming in?
Yes, it was a metaphysical church. I've read at lots of churches. All the metaphysical churches. And so I went ahead and advertised it to all my clients. I'm like, we are raising money for the church. I want everybody to come. I filled my entire day solid with people, and I donated the entire amount that they paid me to the church. And everybody just looked at me and was like, well, you've got to make money. And I'm like, I do make money. And today I am volunteering and I am donating my money. And then they were like, well, you shouldn't just use your regular clients. You should use this to get new clients. And which is, and I'm doing the voice, but it is a valid point. But again, it was a fundraiser, and I wanted that church to make as much money as possible, and I wanted to contribute as much as possible. So there are lots of opportunities to get in on an event where people are paying you, but you get to donate the money, and it feels, if you're worried about being the first time, that is a really clean way to take money and know that you're doing it for a good cause. It helps you appreciate the value of what you're doing.
Joy, I think that's a really great point. And I've definitely gone and did readings. If it was a nonprofit, I really wanted to just dedicate that time towards. But those are not during Halloween. If you want that, let's talk March maybe, or July, but not like during prime time season. But you're right. And when you're very, very new, that feels like it's low stakes, right? You're not feeling like, oh my God, this person's paid me. But this is why, like in Have Tarot Will Travel, I was like, do like a low end, like art festival, something in your neighborhood. It's low stakes. You're doing $5 readings. So even if you're making money, it's low enough stakes that you're not stressing yourself out. But there's something about that money being exchanged where then people are more just respectful overall. And I've done events where the public were coming in, but I was paid by maybe the restaurant owner or store or whatever it is, or even like a party. And so when your fare is being paid by the host, and then you have kind of the public coming through, then you're really having to deal with challenges that would not necessarily be there when people actually have to put money down, right? So the people that are testing you, the people that are like pulling your leg, the people that aren't respecting you, usually they don't want to spend money to do that to you. You know, so there's that piece too in all of it, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I almost always did get, I always got my money up front and I always got paid like by the organization. There was one time where I got paid by them and I set out a tip jar. I decided, um, I decided that felt, I don't know. It didn't feel, it felt like if I'm getting good enough money, I don't need to put out a tip jar in addition. I think a lot of people didn't think I was getting paid. So it was weird. And I felt weird about it. It was a Halloween party. So I guess I wanted to respond to what you were saying by saying, so what do you recommend and how do you do it? Because I always just was like flat rate for X number of hours. If you need me to stay beyond that, we'll prorate it and work out something else. And I ended up stopping with the tip jar, and I'm like, I'm just going to ask for enough up front that I'm feeling really confident that this is worth my time. So how do you do it?
I'm not too proud to be tipped. No, are you crazy? No, give me that monies. No, honestly, like, so there, there's a lot of different ways that they can do it. So some places I've said, here's my hourly rate. But before I even get into that, there's something I wrote in the book that, and the thing that I still do is that my pricing on events is not the same across the board. My pricing on events is determined by time of year. So are you in the holiday season, which is for me like October through December? That is a higher surcharge. Are you wanting me to come in an evening during the week versus the day? That's extra. If you want me on, so say if you're like, I want you on a Saturday that's right before Halloween, Saturday night, you're going to pay the highest hourly price. And the reason for that is these surge events, right? Just like how Lyft and Uber, that we have to maximize them because the demand is greater. So for me, then that means I'm charging higher rates for those events. But if it's like a ladies, like a book club luncheon in April on a Wednesday, then I'm not, because there's obviously not demand. And that's something I don't see a lot of readers doing, which is really looking at that, because I had to learn the hard way, like where it was like people during that holiday, that Halloween weekend, they're like, oh, we want to hire you for 1 hour. And I'm like, on a Halloween weekend, it's a 4-hour minimum, at least.
Yeah.
Because you're going to ruin my whole one Saturday night that like I'll get 10 or 15 other people asking about for 1 hour. Yeah. So you also want to think about what would be your minimum time. And, but to come back to what you were saying, Joy, sorry, I was like, this is like calculus, isn't it?
Those are really good points.
But like, yeah, so it's like, you can have like events that will pay you and then charge the people that come in. I did that for the Mutters Museum in Philadelphia. They hired me. I brought 2 readers with me. And so they gave us a flat rate on the quote, but then they sold tickets to see us by the people that came in. So they may have made money. I don't know. For me, that was fine. They were taking the risk of that. Like, and I didn't want to take the risk. So you could do it that way. Or someone just pays and then it's all guests. Like I've done a few events with the Philly Bar Association. These people are judges, lawyers, they're making plenty of cash, and I will put a tip jar out. And in fact, there have been times where I didn't put the tip jar out and they were like, where's your tip jar? I want to tip you. Cool. like,
Cool.
and like 20s, like Berber, like, so I don't know. They don't have to leave a tip, but with events like that, people often do, especially if it was a really good reading or, they've had a few and they're just feeling very generous. The
Yeah.
holiday season, after all. So I allow them that opportunity. Usually with tips, it's always, it's often other service professionals, like in blue collar, who tip amazing, like even more. You're like, no, I'm good, please. But it's the very, very wealthy, typically.
There was a problem. That one event was in the ritziest part of Denver.
Oh, really?
It was all rich people, and it was right around 2008, because all I got was really bad news for all of them. It was one of the worst nights of my life.
Oh my God.
It was so horrible. It was like swords for everybody. It's like, yay, 2008 fall. Oh, I don't know. Something's going to go wrong. I don't know. Maybe it's 2007. But whatever year it was swords for everybody rich.
Swords for everyone. So what did you do? Like, have you ever had a host ask you to take the scary cards out the deck?
No, I haven't. I don't do, I have to confess now, I don't do events anymore because they are no longer supporting me and no longer in my best interest. And one of the things is that a friend of mine said that he would just set an intention. I am only reading light readings. Everything is for fun tonight. And he would really go in with a strong intention. That doesn't seem to be good enough for me. I end up going deep no matter what. And so that might be a solution to help keep it fun. One thing that I do have to my advantage is that I'm super adaptable and reflective of each person that sits down. So the person sits down is really lighthearted and fun. They get a lighthearted, fun reading. If the person that sits down is really dragged down with something important, they get an important reading. And I don't have very much control over that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have you been asked to take hard cards out?
I've had hosts do that, and we've had some great comments in the live. Kimberly says that she will take out the death card because it's a buzzkill. That's so funny when you said that. Yeah, definitely, Shelly. I've had hosts, and I've done it. I've definitely done it. Or I'll just decide to maybe choose a more gentle deck if the host has issues, or bring a more gentle deck. That
makes more sense to me. I would do something like that maybe if I was. I just use my regular deck though all the time. So.
And I've taken out the quote unquote scary cards because I know that even if I do that, tarot finds a way with the less scary cards to tell me the same thing.
Yeah.
But often in a way that I can kind of like control the experience and not trigger anyone to have a bad time. Right? I'm sure you've had that phenomenon, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also something though. I think that what you're saying is 100% accurate. I haven't ever taken cards out of a deck, so I don't actually have that experience to pull from. But I do know that I do have much more lighthearted interpretations for every card that I can swing into if the person starts to feel like they're getting a little like, oh no, what's going on? I can just be like, woohoo, it's a death card. Something's coming to an end, and there's a little bit of ease that I can bring to it that can help them relax. So it has worked for me like that. So I just never, I know a psychotherapist who takes the naked cards out of a deck.
Wow.
I'm like, my deck, that would be a lot of cards.
I know, right? You can just put little like like maple leaves over everything, like stickers on all of them. So Kimberly asked a good question about, or no, I'm sorry, who is it? Shelly. When you charge per hour, do you tell them how many people you can read in an hour? Do you do that? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I usually will find out from the person, like when and where, how many people is one of the first things that I find out. And then earlier on, I would then say, well, I can get through this many people in this much time. Later on, I would just start to say, I don't care how many people, if there's a line, I'll go faster. If there's not, I'll go slower. And I just charge that flat rate for 4 hours. And so I think being able to adapt, that was hard for me to learn, to adapt to reading much, much faster when there was a line, was a bit of a trick, but I did get it down. And I use the stopwatch feature on my phone, but what I found is that instead of doing like a countdown timer, I just clicked the stopwatch and let it go. And every time it hit a 5-minute mark, I'd bring the next person in. And I because I didn't have time to like stop, reset. I was just like, okay, every 5 minutes, I need to have a new person in front of me.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the kind of event. If it's more of like a bigger, like the museum, they're not as concerned per, but if you're at a house party, or like weddings, things of that nature, I have found that most people that want to hire a tarot reader have really no idea what it entails. Like they just have this idea of like us in a corner and like everything's fine. But then they're like, oh yeah, I have 50 people. I'm guessing you like 25 people and I only want to hire you for an hour. And you're just like, that is a surefire way of pissing every one of your guests off. And don't do that to me. So I do try to give a guideline. So like you said, depending on whether it's kind of a roll call-y, like whatever, or they're really wanting a more one-to-one experience, then I can say, you've got this many guests. If this is how many you want read for, this is the time we're looking at. And often it's beyond what one reader can do. So that's when I can bring someone. If you want to guarantee everyone has a reading, then you need 2 readers and we can do that then in a smaller amount of time. And then often they're kind of shocked because they just hadn't thought of it. But unless we're kind of guiding them through the experience and we just say yes, we'll end up, in really uncomfortable situations, because if we just do a flat rate and don't give them like a ballpark, I've had hosts be like, well, I still have these 3 people and they expect you to read for them and they don't expect to pay extra.
Yeah.
So, so there's always this clause, right? Like we can go, like I will come to you maybe 20 minutes before, but also my ability to run through people is also incumbent upon you as the host, and making sure you're sending people my way, because what can also happen is, I've had hosts like give me names on a list, and then the person that just sat down, I'm like, find Rosa for me. And then it's like 10 minutes, like they forgot, they had drinks. So, there's all these little complicating factors that really can make or break an experience. And as readers, we maintain control of the experience as much as possible, just because they don't know. And it's nothing on them if you're there another hour, right. And they probably won't pay you for that because they think it's all included. So, yeah, so 20 guests will want readings. I'm looking at 3 to 4 hours. So, Joy, how many readings will you and I'm not talking as fast as you can go, but comfortably where you feel like they've gotten something, like how many in an hour would you do?
I remember I always had trouble getting it down to 5 minutes. 7 minutes, I felt like I could really get in, tell somebody something important, and get them out of the chair. That crowd control thing is really huge. I used to do this event that was a pretty big one with a lot of alcohol involved, and there were 5 readers that they would get every year, and the thing lasted several hours, and we had to, that's when I had learned how to use just the stopwatch thing, and like, okay, switch. And so, yeah, I really prefer a couple extra minutes. 7 minutes started to feel really comfortable for me.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like it's like around 8 to 12 minutes, depending. So,
That's a reading. That's like a full reading.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, if I'm doing like a smaller, more intimate event, then I'll say it's this much, because too, if the guest feels that we're just shunting them past, they may complain. Or, Joy, you know this, right? Like, one of my first shocks about doing this is how people will bring their most intimate, crazy, like convoluted questions. Like, I was at a fair and everyone's like, yeah, this is a good time. And it's like, I want to know, will I get my children back? And I'm like, I've only got 5 minutes. Like, what? Like people will just throw whatever is painful for them, regardless of like the context, the content, and actually how much time you have with them.
Yeah.
So how do we get around that? Like, what do you do with that when it's like?
I do spend longer when somebody does have that more that question that just is not going to be answered quickly. I do spend a little bit longer, but there's also I'm trying to remember, because I remember having like at a bridesmaid party, whatever, like whatever they call it, they call it, I don't know why I can only think of the term in English, which is a hen party, but whatever those things are called. I was at one of the where they've got the penis-shaped glitter all over the table and everything. and I'm like, in this hotel room with this whole crowd of women, and they're making so much noise, and I'm here sitting this woman looking through all her options on whether or not she should get divorced. And it was deep, and it was kind of crazy, because I'm like, okay, I cannot just like shuffle her off. We really need to look at all of these options that she's going through. This woman is in pain. And so there was partying all around us, and we just got deep with it. And there was another time, that's what it happened to me enough that I'm like, I don't know that parties are my thing.
So it depends on how much time I have per person and kind of the context. But, there are questions I will not do in a party setting. Anything around divorce, death, disease, all those baddies. Like, I'm not here to bring the party down. And especially if a host has hired me, I would hate for them to come back and go, this person was crying because of what you told her, blah, 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 even if she asked for it, right? So I think having a good general all-purpose spread, like, which kind of hits the hits, is really good to have, because often most of them will sit down and you're like, what do you want to know? I don't know. You tell me. And they're like, but sometimes that really means like they legitimately don't know. But more often it is they definitely have something, but they want to see if you're going to magically say it. But we've only got 8 minutes to somehow do all of that, right? So right. There's a lot of level setting of expectations. So you can have a good all-purpose spread that you can just do real quick, or maybe give them a choice of 3 questions, and you can have it on a little paper next to you and be like, choose. You can get one of these. So because
I love that idea, having a prepared suggestion of good questions. That's a fabulous idea.
Or you
I
can
mean, I
make it
usually have just in my head, but giving, like, helping people know that that's part of the experience, is that they're bringing something to the table. I love that idea.
You can also do something really fun with it. Like, for example, do you remember, did you ever do the story, that like paper fortune teller thing, right? You could do something like that. And on each side, like have a theme or a question, like a good general, and then like make it a fun way for them to get the question.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
And so
That
like
is so cool.
so that's even fun, rather than them going like for 5 out of the 8 minutes that you have them, and you're just like, oh my god, like, so other people, especially if there's like a line, they notice if you take more time. Oh my god, it is like hurting 5-year-olds, because like, well, you spent like 10 minutes with her and only 5 with me. They will notice. It's like it's so crazy sometimes, especially when people start drinking. But I don't want to scare people off, because I know like there's a lot of challenges. But here's why I love gig work. And I mean, I have a full client base. I don't need to do gig work. Why I do it is I can do it in a fun way, and in a way that has a little more showmanship or teasing and flirting in ways I can't in a one-to-one client session. So that's always fun for me.
Yeah, that's really cool. And a lot of times I think about a friend. So a lot of events that I used to do, I did many of them with a friend who went by the name of John the Gray, and wore a wizard's cloak and a wizard's hat, and he had a patter, and he ended up busking on the 16th Street Mall in Denver for a long time. And other people. There was another guy that had a gold lame cloak and a whole costume specially made for him. He went by the name Mr. E. And they love the showmanship, and I've never cared about it that much. So that might be it. And I'm more of an introvert, so parties were. That's why I liked getting deep with people, because that introvert brings that part out of me. And so I know what you mean by the showmanship. There can be something that's really fun about that, but I don't think I can maintain it as long as I can actually maintain doing the readings. Maybe. I don't know. That's a really good point. And I'm like, but I don't think that was me.
So some people have some really great suggestions in the comments about doing readings. So Trio of Witches, birth card calculations. Yeah, like doing a real quick tarot numerology based off of their birthday or something of that nature goes off really, really well if you don't have anything. Because I think if people don't like often have a specific question, what do they really want? They want to be wowed, or they want to be told something about themselves. That seems to be what people typically like. So if you've got kind of something like a little recipe box in your head of like different things you can pull out around those themes, most people are going to like that. So Craft Ladies, what else? Thank you everyone for all these wonderful comments. Kimberly says, if folks don't have any ideas or a question, I suggest what's up for you the next 6 months. Yeah, exactly. Do something like that. There's a reading I do, like a real general reading, where it's called the 4 gifts. So I pull out the 4 aces. So it's like, what's coming around resources, pentacles, work, wands, relationships, cups, and then what are some challenges you need to be aware of? Swords. And then those are just 4 cards, really. And it's just kind of very general. And people tend to love that.
I've got a really similar
do you?
4-card spread like that. I'm like, I know that one.
Yes. What else do we have here? Oh, Crafty Lady says, if you're at a party and everyone is feeling timid, would you spend more time on the first brave soul, or would it be starting a precedent?
Um, yeah. You guys have such good questions going in. I just would I just wander into a party and sit down. And if nobody comes up and finally somebody does, I just read for them until the next person comes up. So, and I was never, I don't know. I never had concerns that, whether things were going to be fair or not fair, or if the host was going to complain about anything. Nothing ever happened. Nothing ever went wrong. Nobody ever complained. So it ended up working fine. Yeah, I have spent more time with them, but there was nothing calculated or thoughtful about it. It was just simply, nobody else is coming up. Might as well spend more time with this person. But definitely word starts to get out. Yeah, the host will say only half the people are going to want readings. And then word starts getting out. Everybody starts talking about their reading with everybody else. And then everybody else is like, wow, I wonder what would happen if I sat down. And yeah, there is no, only a few people are going to want readings. No, everybody's going to want them.
I've not in events-based readings like this, I've not had shy people who wouldn't come up. That's more true at like festival work or psychic expo. Like, to me, there's always this break the ice. Like, if you're sitting getting readings, other people, if they're seeing you giving readings, they are more likely to sign up. So I've actually had friends go, can you come? I'll give you, actually, it's a real reading, but can you come at the beginning of this festival to break the ice so it looks like I'm busy?
Oh.
And that's really helped, actually. Because, yeah, people feel like they don't want to be the one. They don't want to get spotted. But in events, that hasn't been the case for me. So Brandy says, I offered to create custom themed bio and spread options in alignment with a theme for party, but still allow questions. I see that's a lot of work, and I hope you're getting paid for that extra work as part of the concierge service. So
it's a good marketing ploy, though. I mean, I mean, to help you stand out, to come up. I mean, tarot spreads are pretty easy to come up with. So yeah, I think that would be fun for me to come up with a themed tarot spread to match the party. Yeah, and it does help set you apart from other readers. So I like that.
Yeah, I'd be curious, Brandy, how that works in practice, because often I have come that what the host wanted and what the guests want are always the same. And they're just like, I don't care about her. Tell me, when is he coming back? You're just like, So what else? Oh, Craft Lady says some tarot readings readers have really strong feelings about costumes or not. What's your take, Joy, on costumes?
I hate costumes. Another reason that I was not very good at parties and events.
God, you're making me feel like I should have had someone else come on today.
Well,
wow.
There was when I did the Halloween party for the rich people, I did go in costume and went as a fortune teller because I could not think of anything to do. And then there was another person that came to the party dressed as a fortune teller, and their costume was so much better than mine. And I was just looking at them and go, oh yeah, bangle bracelets, what a good idea. Never thought of that. It's just like some really obvious things. And I was like, oh yeah, I should have done that. I think so no, I'm not much. I did I wore orange today. So this is the most costume you'll get out of me. I found it difficult reading at Halloween events when other people are in costume and they have masks on. And I wonder, like, I had one person with a full gorilla outfit and gorilla head, and they sat down for a reading, and I was just like, can you take your mask off? And they refused.
Oh,
um
wow.
and so
You're like, is this method acting? What the hell?
so they didn't complain about the reading, so I guess that it was fine. But yeah, I mean, I guess, Jenna, you've got more of the showmanship and the flair. So you probably like the costumes, but also I wanted to touch base on that reading for people that are wearing masks. Do you do it? Do you not?
I don't know. Yeah. Yes, I have. Trying to think. The times that they have, sometimes they'll take it off during the reading, but I'm okay with that. But for costumes, it really depends. Like, again, like some people are saying in the comments, I don't really do a caricature. I'm not going to play fortune teller. That's not ever. And I'm not going to dress up if other people aren't dressed up at the event. That's just,
Oh, right.
I
Yeah.
usually dress nice. But if it is a costume event, yeah, because I can get my costumes written off. I write them off. Yeah, of course. And then I'll pay more for a cooler costume than I may otherwise. So I like that aspect. But at this point, like, I've got a bunch of costumes. I'll just decide one. Oh my God, I should have shared this picture. I did an early event on an old wooden kind of pirate ship thing. I was dressed up like Chiquita Banana, like I was all in.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
So yeah, like I feel like if it's part of the party, yes. If it's like an ask that makes me feel, I don't know, not respected, I don't know, like, then I don't feel okay with that, because even though it is entertainment, I think we can all agree that it's not just entertainment.
Yeah.
Kimberly says she's more of the Stevie Nicks witchy vibes. Yes, that's like daily wear. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what are you talking about?
My Max is skeleton earrings at Halloween. That's pretty funny. So let's see here. Co-create your magic with Lisa. I'd like to give readings during my husband's birthday party next month. Although I'm concerned most of his guests will be colleagues. Ooh, this is a good question. Thoughts? Should she or shouldn't she do it?
For her husband's colleague, I would, but
her husband's work party? Or her husband's birthday party, but they'll mostly be work guests, right? I would, that is such a tricky question. I think, like, the way I teach my students is, don't read for people you know or have like some skin in the game with, because your own, like, oh, should I, discomfort or bias can kind of get in the way. Whereas with complete strangers, you feel a little more free. I've had experiences where readings have backfired among people I knew, or they've blamed the messenger, or things got weird. So I personally, it would depend, but I would be more cautious than not with that. What do you think, Joy?
Yeah, it does depend a lot on how well you know those people, and so I probably would, but again, I'm imagining, people that I don't either am close enough to that I feel super comfortable just talking about anything with them, or contrarily, like, I don't know anybody at my partner's work vibe, and yeah, I would be totally fine just reading for them. I think there could be what I can see where this might go bad is if really personal stuff comes out, like so and so's having an affair with somebody, it's like, oh man, this is like not something I want to be dealing with right now. So yeah, I do sometimes redirect questions that I think are going to go possibly a bad direction. And
how do you do that? How do you like redirect when you see it kind of going in that direction?
there's a lot of ways. I really try to like, it depends on the situation. There was one guy that had his 2 young daughters with him, and as I was laying the cards out, it's like, oh, this is about his personal life with a new girlfriend, and we need to be able to talk about his sexuality with her because that's what needs to be discussed. And so I'm just like, this might get personal. You might want to send your daughters away, or we might ask a different question. So I had already laid the cards out and everything, and he was just like, girls, go away. And they were old enough, they just wandered off and did their own thing. There was another time, it was not a party, it was a psychic fair. And a woman wanted, again, a short reading. And then she wanted to know about son that was overseas in the military. And I have done enough readings and she also struck me as somebody that's kind of new to tarot reading. I've done enough readings for military people that the death card will come up because that's what they're dealing with. And so I'm just like, I don't want to try to explain that in a really short period of time and go into all the details of how complicated a question like that could be. And I'll redirect towards, especially with mothers and children, redirect towards what can I do to support my kid at this time, and some more, not like what's going on with them, or are they going to be, like, is my child in the military going to be safe? That no, nobody's safe in the military. No, there's all kinds of things that could go wrong other than the worst case scenario that she's imagining. There's all kinds of other things that could go wrong with somebody in war, and that's just not relevant and not appropriate to talk about in a party or light reading situation. So yeah, redirect, what can I do to support my child, some things like that. Hopefully that, I don't know if I really answered the question, but hopefully that's some.
Well, no, I think like a helpful redirect, right? Like, because I think like those questions are really is my kid going to come up, like that kind of stuff, right? It comes from a place of anxiety and fear, and I want this anxiety and fear to go away, but we can't guarantee that it will because of a tarot reading. And so we want to take those readings that are more maybe like a crutch in a way and turn it into a tool.
Yes. Yeah.
But we do it, right? But we do it in a way where we don't just do it and then they feel they've been already like disempowered. Because one of my pet peeves, and I've seen this at psychic fairs more specifically, is overhearing people that have gotten a reading from other readers. And they're like, I just needed to know if I was going to make rent. And she didn't even answer my question. She just started talking about my money consciousness, right? And so I think that can be like the wrong way to do the redirect, where you're kind of just changing it on them, or you don't even say anything, but what you're saying from the cards is completely not even answering the question. Like you changed the question to match the reading. And so I think there's a way we can do it where we're giving still total agency to them and transparency, but not agreeing to be party to like ameliorating anxiety in a way that may not be helpful, especially in a party reading, right? So yeah, I think that's, as those of you that we have so many people in here, and hey Hillary, I'm so glad to see you. we have so many people here who've done readings of all kinds, and I think this discussion illuminates how complicated all of this really is with all the cat herding, and we're working with a tool that doesn't work on our command. It's its own command, and then we're having to play this like game, of trying to make it work. And this is why you all should probably be charging more, is what I'm going to say. And someone earlier asked, oh, how much should I charge? Well, if you missed the earlier part, I talked about surge pricing. But in terms of per hour, I just want to say across the board, probably 3 times more than what you're actually charging. And the reason why I say that is tarot readers have a really bad habit of like undervaluing what they do. And there are patriarchal reasons for that typically, and that us women, we're not taught that a lot of these soft skills actually have value, and that value needs to be paid. And so that's the thing I want to leave with everyone, that this isn't about get yours capitalism, right? This is about, if this is especially a business, nobody's paying your health insurance. No one's paying your 401k matching. You don't get like FMLA. You don't get sick days. You don't get vacation days. It's all on you. And so it is incumbent that you are asking for what you need so that you can actually sit and do the work without worrying or being burnt out or exhausted. And then we're not being of service. So really charge. And what that does is the people who don't value you, they go away. And then the people who do value you will stay. And that's where we want to put all of our attention. Oh, co-create your magic. Yeah. Payment up front. So yes, with events where there's a host, usually like around Halloween, I will demand a 50% upfront deposit that's non-refundable. Because
I think I was doing the same thing, Jenna.
Huh? Say again?
I think I was doing the same thing, 50% upfront and 50% afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And make sure you guys have a contract.
Yes.
And make sure you bring a copy of said contract, paper contract with you. Because I have had hosts who drank too much try to argue the terms at the end of the night. But they can't when you're like, well, look, it says here and you signed it. So give me my money. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
So Hillary says you can give effective short readings while also explaining we only have this amount of time. Yep. And go in more in depth on this. Absolutely. Have you done that, Joy, where it's like, this is more than we can do. Here's my card. Let's look at this. Yeah, because it's like, I want to honor this situation and I want to honor you. And I can't honor this in a slapdash, Mickey D's drive-through, run-through. Like, that's not honoring you, right? So it's okay to say no to that. What do you think? Do you do that? You did that too, you said?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Jill, I make sure Venmo or whatever payment goes through before you start reading. I learned the hard way that some people are very good at faking payments. Oh my God, that's never happened to me, Jill. Oh, bad. I'll have to hear more about that story. People are
that
wild
sounds
out
like
here.
A mess.
I give short business readings at psychic fairs, fast food tarot. I know, it really is. So, wow. Yeah. I've had issues where at the time pre-Venmo, where you just had the slider on your phone, not actually run all the payments because it was offline. I've lost a lot of money that way too. That was not a fun day.
Oh, ouch.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. If you do Venmo, I would say like Venmo, Cash App, like both of them, or Google Pay, like those three. Most people tend to have one of those three. And at least with Venmo, get your UR code, your QR code, sorry. and print it out big and put it on the table. So there's not like, okay, I am at, or you're grabbing your phone, that there can be the QR code already right there and you go scan it, and it just kind of keeps everything faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else top of mind? I know you had a whole beautiful list that you and your partner had come up with.
Yeah, a few things have flitted through my mind at various points, but right now I can't actually think of them. Oh, I know what I was thinking of. I found that when I was when I was trying to get more gigs, I did find that it's not just, there's different ways of advertising that. And I can't remember what that site is called anymore. I think, and I don't know if it's changed now because it's been a while since I've done the parties, but there was was it called Party Pop? Do you remember that? Or
Mm-mm.
something like that. I forget but there was a website that specifically listed people that worked for parties. And it was all kinds of caterers and clowns and just everything. If you might hire this person to do something at a party, they were included on this site.
Oh, yeah, there was Gig Masters. That
Gig
was big when
Masters
I
is one of
was
them.
kind
Yeah.
of doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then and the other thing is getting on with party planners and letting party planners know that you are available and all your basic pricing and everything, because then they can recommend you when they're organizing a party for somebody. And that really helped me out for a while when I had an agent and a party planner, both that I was working with at various times. And that really helped me get gigs.
So tell me more about the agent. Who was the
I
agent?
know, it was kind of cool. It was that really big event that I would do. I did several years in a row. And it was in Keystone, Colorado. And a friend got me in, but then I had to sign on with this agent, and it's like, seriously? And yeah, and so I had to go, and he's like, read every single word of the contract. There will be something somewhere in the middle of that contract where she tells you, like the old story, just the green M&Ms or something, and she'll say, draw smiley face here or something. And so you have to make sure you read all the contract and go through all that. But she ended up not just but those agents, you really have to kind of be extremely responsive and kind of at their beck and call. But she would get me really good gigs that were well paying and all of that. And I didn't have to do quite so much work getting set up. I don't, like I said, I kind of fell into it accidentally, so I don't even know where to find somebody. But it was big events that were well paid. So it was really, and it made it so much easier for me.
Mm-hmm. I wonder, I should talk to another reader who does a lot of big gigs in New York City. I wonder if she gets them through an agent. I'll have to ask. I never worked through an agent. I worked through some party planners, not for very long, because I want to get rid of the middleman as soon as possible. But, I just I never did the hotlines. I never did the online readings. Like I wanted to really keep all of my labor under my own umbrella as much as possible. And it worked out in my way, but that's not for everybody. I'm super anti-authority. I don't like authority. I don't like bosses. This is why I'm self-employed. Got authority issues. But yeah, when we're working with party planners and agents and stuff, they can ask that you have restrictions. Like one of them that I had was you can't actually give out your own business card for readings.
Oh,
ever.
wow.
Like you're basically under them and that's it, you know? And I've hired readers to work with me when I've needed co-readers and stuff for big events. And I've definitely had them sign like a non-compete, like don't come to this host a year from now and try to take them from me, because that's not cool. And I've actually had that happen. So I'm always about, let's all just act in good faith and be good to each other and, be honest. But this is all tricky stuff. The other thing I wanted to mention too is a lot of the higher events, like the more corporate gigs and stuff, like when I was hired by Urban Outfitters a number of times, they want you to have professional liability insurance.
Oh, yeah.
They'll ask that they want to be put on your policy.
Yeah.
And this is not an unusual thing to ask, even though it might seem weird. Like, I'm going to put you on my policy, but that's just how it works, just to protect them and you. So there may come a time in your tarot reading professional life where that is an option. And I know that some readers, there's this kind of, I don't even know what to call it. Like, what do I call it? Like, there's like the hobby class that may resist kind of going into the professional class, where they're like, well, I only do this for fun or on the side. I really don't want to kind of do all these extra things. And so when we're willing to do that, it really can open up a lot of what we're going to do. Do you have insurance like that, or have you with events?
Oh, yeah. And it was really funny. For years, my most read blog post on my blog was Joy's lecture on insurance for Reiki and tarot.
Oh, really?
And that lecture is still up. You can still find it on my blog. My website's joyvernon.com if you want to go and check it out. But I kind of cover all the different options there. And I tell a little bit about my backstory in terms of how I came into getting it. And just like anything else, there's so many people that I meet that are much more, I consider myself to be pretty professional, but I'm also very jumping into things and let's just get going with something. And so a lot of times I wait until I need something and then I get it. And I did have my first office that I rented. They did ask for insurance. I already knew about the additional insured and all of that because I used to have to do it for the theater company I worked for. When we were like getting rehearsal space and things like that. But the first office I had, it was in the contract, but he crossed that sentence out. He's like, nobody that's rented an office has had insurance, so I'm just crossing this sentence out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so, but then it was shortly after that I went ahead and did finally. Oh, I think, you know what? I so lack motivation sometimes. It was that agent that was hiring me for that big gig, and I had to have my own insurance. And so, yeah, I finally got insurance then. And that was a long time ago. And I did, insurance has changed a lot since I first got it. And so I really like that one you're using, Jenna. And I actually shifted over to it once I learned about it from you, because it was just a lot better than the one I had.
Yeah. Like, next time, let me know. Like, I have an affiliate link that.
Oh, I used your affiliate link.
Oh, you did? Okay,
yes.
Good.
I have an affiliate link too. I just.
All right. So yeah, it's alternativebalance.net. And I've been using them for like more than 5 years, I think, at this point. And it's like around $250 a year if you're full time, even less if you're temporary. And they're wonderful to work with. but I need to have insurance for my office. I have to have liability insurance for trips and falls, but also there is a professional liability carrier. So people can't be like, you told me that to leave my husband and I did, and now I'm homeless and I'm going to sue you because of that, right? So the insurance covers for your protection, your legal counsel, should there be a litigation. And this does happen. Matter of fact, not too long ago, there's a Turkish guy out of New York who does Turkish coffee ground readings. He was like a big deal in Manhattan. And I should find this show. He went to Atlanta to be on one of those judge shows, like Judge Judy's, because someone from Texas was suing him because of what he said. You know, and that's not happened to me. Everyone here, knock on that wood right now. So yeah, you have the trip and falls, and then the liability rider, and then events insurance. So all of that, and that $250 a year makes me sleep at night. So, and to answer Jill, no, you don't have to have an LLC. You can be a sole prop, like that's fine. That part doesn't matter. But yeah, like there's always that kind of place where you're like, okay, should I get to that next level as a reader? I don't know, but it's helpful.
Yeah, I recommend it. It's so easy to do. It was really hard to do for a long time, and there weren't a lot of places that covered. In fact, even when I did finally get insurance, I could not find it. There was a organization that offered insurance in England and Australia, but it didn't offer it in the US. And I finally had to sign up for it was the Healing Touch Professional Association, I think is what it was called. And they offered insurance. They didn't cover tarot, but when I asked them directly, they added it to the policy for me and astrology as well. And they required that I provide them with certificates showing that I was trained in the modalities that they covered.
Oh, wow. Really? Wow.
Yeah. And so that's, and I just, it's just easy enough to keep paying the money every year. So I stayed with them for a long time. But yeah, once Jenna showed me Alternative Balance, I was like, oh yeah, this is better.
I feel like Alternative Balance needs to send me like a coffee mug or something at this point. Yeah, I used to use, what is it called? Hycox. And that was like over $400 a year. So this is like the best bang for your buck, and they're really nice people, like really not insurance people, but
yeah.
All right, so we've been at this a minute. I can't believe they do Crafty Lady, they do cover Reiki, they cover all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, they cover everything.
They don't have tarot on the website, but they will.
It's, you have to dig, but it's psychic, I think. Well, maybe it says psychic readings.
Oh, does it? Oh, maybe they've added it.
That was one of the things I liked about it, because it actually, you have to dig to find everything that they cover. But I'm pretty sure tarot was in there, psychic readings is in there, astrology was there, Reiki was there. I felt like I got all my things covered really easily without having to jump through hoops. Also, with a couple different insurance companies I'd used before, in order to get the discounted insurance, which was usually around that $250 to $300 a year, you also had to pay a membership fee to that organization, which was also maybe $100 a year. So it used to kind of add up. And Alternative Balance isn't doing any of that stuff. So, and that was the case with Reiki. If you joined a certain, an organization, then you could get insurance through them, but those insurance never covered any kind of psychic readings or anything.
I'm going to quickly jump to another. This is my Gemini brain, like, because of, you're saying all those little things add up. And I want to bring that back to like Halloween parties, is please, when you're calculating a quote, you definitely calculate time for travel.
Mm,
and
yeah.
also time of travel for the time of day,
Yes.
because I've done things where it was like over an hour each way at like rush hour, and that really increases my time. And I know it can feel like, gosh, you're so pedantic about time, right? But that's all we have to sell as tarot readers. We don't have product. You can't scale. You're a service-based business, and all those little minutes and stuff over the aggregate really add up. So you need to make sure that you're actually keeping that in mind. Also, parking, if you're in a more urban place where that could be a problem, making sure that you know exactly where you are trying to go, that you have all the information, um, and helping your host, if you do decide to work with them, that you're not missing anything that they'll later come back and blame you for, but you weren't told that. I've had that happen to me. I didn't get a code, and I wasn't told which building in a huge apartment complex, and I couldn't get through to them. So I left and I drove 30 minutes. I was like, I don't know, I can't reach them. And then they called me and was like, are you coming back? I was like, no, I'm not coming back. And then I got a ton of 1 stars because they were all mad. But the fault was theirs, but I wasn't thinking proactively enough to make sure I had everything just in case. So
Yeah, that something it worked out. It worked out fine for me, but I did get stopped at the rich people party. There was a gate that you had to get into. And there's like this guy going, you know, who are you? What do you want? I'm like, I'm the tarot reader. I don't know. What do I do? How do I get into rich people land? And so, you know, and he's like, is your name on the list? And I think he was making phone calls, or I don't know what he was doing. Anyway, he opened the gate and I was allowed in. So yeah, it worked. It worked out.
Yeah, and make sure, like, if you that you have in your contract bathroom breaks.
Oh God, yes.
Because I've had it like where I could barely leave to even use the restroom, right? Like there was just no time. Like the demand was there. And so I've seen hosts, and I'm a very, like you, Joy, I can be very fast reader. I've seen hosts do this to me. And I'm like, do that to your guests. Like we're talking this and I'm a fast reader. Like I don't dilly dally. I'm on top of it. So we want to make sure that in the contract you have your breaks. So for me, it was like, I need 5 minutes after 2 hours. Also, often you get two kinds of hosts, those who are like, here's mountains of food and drink and we love you and stay and eat with us. That's never a good idea because it's always awkward. But because you've just done these really personal readings, and then now you're like, hey, it doesn't work. But and then you have the other hosts who no one checks on you ever again, and they don't even ask if you need water or anything. So always make sure that you're bringing your own, but having the contract and you remind them, because hosts are busy hosting. They're not often thinking about our actual physical needs. Oh yeah, Joy, you said something earlier about like loudness too. Don't put me next to a band. I'm going to lose my voice. Trying to yell over it for hours, right? So those are also things that you need to let them know. Like, put me somewhere public, but maybe on a quieter corner of the public space. That can sometimes really make or break whether you're going to have a voice the next day.
Yeah.
So
I've had some nice parties where they actually gave me a separate room, and you don't want to be too isolated that people can't find you. But I was like, one really nice mansion that I was in that was not gated. They did give me like an office that was right at the very top of the stairs, and it worked really well because I was separated from the noise, and yet people could really easily find me. There was a huge line, but the stairs also was like a place for people to line up, so that it was really organized. It was a really it was a very nice place to read. So yeah, I'm with you on the when I had the agent, we were told not to, we were given food, but then we were told not to eat, during the party part of it at all. And I have found, I don't know what it is really weird trying to eat at a party that you're supposed to be working at. There's something very strange about it. And one time people were, yeah, we love you, have some food, let me bring you a plate and all that. And so I'm sitting at my table eating, and somebody comes and sits down, and I assume she wants a reading. And so I'm like, well, I'm eating, give me a minute. And I am like insanely embarrassed. And it turns out she just wanted to sit down, and she thought it was the table where dinner was being served. She was just like, oh, let me bring my food too.
Oh, that's so
funny. Like, no, I'm the tarot reader, I should not be eating. And I'm like, I'm not ever going to eat at a party again.
Yeah. I don't do it either. Or like maybe I'll take a plate on the way out or something.
On the way out.
Yeah, it's often awkward. Hillary says, what'd you say, Hillary? You said something. Certain parties being treated like higher help. Yeah, it really can run the gamut. So I think I think you can get a vibe for that before you get there, in how they're just treating the contract negotiations and the quotes and that kind of thing. What was the other thing I was going to say? Like have layers, because I've been in places that were like crazy hot with no circulation, and also places really cold with no circulation. So you kind of have to run the gamut with it. I've been, what would be your policy if people are really inebriated or they're acting inappropriately? I was definitely hit on in very uncomfortable ways a couple of times. And how would you handle that? What would that look like? And I think everything is really about whether the host is really supporting you or not supporting you. That really can make or break your experience. So with a host, if they already seem really high maintenance and difficult, then maybe you need to not sign on the dotted line and go there. Like they're showing you what this probably could be.
I think that's a really good point, especially in terms of asking questions and really trying to clarify a lot of things ahead of time. Is not so much, part of it is to figure out how they communicate and what they expect, and whether or not they have the capacity to really envision what's going to be happening, so that you can know if how much extra you have to do to make up for their lack, if that's going to be an issue.
Yeah, it's just like, it's like a wild, wild west when it comes to like events. And, I think like with my book, Have Terrible Party, there are contracts in this book. I know there were some questions, there's some templates and contracts. The thing is, here's what I think is funny, is like the world sees readers as con artists and whatever, right? Like in some level, right? Like we're always having to prove ourselves. But in my experience, I've had more people con me than I ever would have like done to anyone else. And so because we don't have a like professional group where we can pull together and advocate, because in many places reading is illegal technically, because we're not seen as professionals that have contracts that take care of ourselves, we actually, open ourselves up to lots of potential harm. And because of that, this is why we have to really, really, really like ironclad everything just to cover your butt, really. And most of the time you're not even going to need it, but then you can rest easy. I know we've talked a lot about a lot of the bad examples and not all the amazing, wonderful, great times I know I've personally had, and watching people get married, and like just watching people enjoy each other, watching a couple have their 50th reunion and get to be part of that. Like, I love that too, ultimately. Like, that's part of it,
Yeah.
What is this tarot destroyer? Is this like spam?
And it looks
Oh
kind of
no. I was like, what's going on? I see. I have no idea what she's saying. Do you? I think I'm gonna like
it does look Spanish to me.
let me see here. Put
And
user
have you
in
kind of removed
timeout.
that person?
So any last thoughts or
A comment flipped by a few minutes ago that I thought was an interesting one. It never came up for me, but somebody said, what if the host wants a test reading? And nobody ever asked me for a test reading, but at the same time, I can kind of understand that. If you're going to ask for a 4-hour minimum and a bunch of things, there could be a little bit. I think that my attitude is, look at my website, look at my blog, look at my reviews. If I look like a professional that you would hire, you don't need a test reading. But if you are brand new and you don't have all of those things really up to, that you might have them in place, but they might not really prove the level of quality that you can offer, then that might be reasonable. I'm guessing Jenna's going to say no.
No, I was going to say yes.
Oh, okay.
Like, it doesn't cost me 10 minutes to have someone like go, holy shit, you're really good. And I'm like, yeah, I know. That's why I'm charging this amount. Like to me, that's really, they're just trying, like, if you have a wedding, I want to eat the food at the caterer. Like, I don't mind that actually. I don't mind
Good
that.
comparison.
What I don't do though is clients or randos I don't know texting me and be like, do you just do one question free though, just so I can see? And I'm like, no, I don't do that. I have over 50 reviews. Like, to me, that's a little different because that feels not about quality control, but more about trying to get a free reading, or
Yeah.
So yeah, it's weird. So I want to kind of finish on a happy note, on a good note. Like, all of this has been like, but like, it's actually really good. So I want to know, sorry about this, do you have a happy memory or happy funny thing that happened at one of your gigs?
Oh, I've had lots of fun doing. I have weird things that make me happy though are weird. This maybe is funny. I had a guy at a party that was so drunk, and it was at the very end, and he kind of staggered in and kind of sat down at the wrong spot at the table, and actually grabbed my deck and started flipping cards around. He's like, "What's this?" And I told him, "What's this?" And I told him, and as he was doing it, this story of him and his relationship with his father came out that was so powerful. And he just sat back and got up and walked away. And it was like so phenomenal.
That sounds amazing. Oh, according to Gloria Miller, Tarot Destroyer, we're going to get heart attacks, everybody. Oh no. I'm so scared. Let me tell you, if the ability to hex actually worked, I wouldn't be where. How many of those walk-in readers wanted to get rid of me in Philly? Trust me, if it worked, I would not be here. So whatevs, Gloria. So funny, like in funny and happy reading, I want to think about, kind of similar to what you were saying, Joy, like the times where, and this is why I like doing gigs. I don't do them so much anymore just because with what I charge individually, most people don't want to pay that plus. So, but I love like street tarot in the way that it can completely and utterly shock someone in the best possible way and completely change their worldview. I love that. I love when they're like, well, what is this? This is crap or whatever. And then you do it and they're just like astounded. I love when I get mediumship coming through, even though I'm not looking for it, just kind of like, here we are. I love the moments where the reading is so tender and so sweet that it brings tears to my eyes while I'm in costume. Like, I just love the weirdness of and just amazingness of that. And I think all of us who are readers love that, which is why we do the work, despite all sometimes the pain of all the BS to get there. So, Hillary, party readings are a sharp whetstone.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, Hillary, we should have had you on. I should have thought to bring you on too. Joy, thank you so much for coming and adding your wisdom, your advice, and your perspective. And everyone who's on the live, thank you for all your questions and comments. This was so much fun. And for those of you that are watching later, I hope this found you and you found it helpful. All right, guys, take care and happy Samhain, happy Halloween, happy October. Bye.
Bye.